Today I'm going to show you how I am going to take ingredients that I found at the store that were on sale. I'm putting them together in kind of a random dish, something that I don't really make. But I'm taking the prices, the discounted prices in, and I'm locking them in with freeze drying it because everything that I'm making here freeze dries very well and is now shelf stable. So all I'm doing is this ground beef was on sale, so I took 3 pounds of it and I'm browning it up. Right here I am getting all of the oil off because whenever you are freeze drying, you want less oil as possible. So now I am actually rinsing the beef, which is crazy, I know, but I want this to be able to be preserved as long as possible. So I'm rinsing everything now. I did not season the beef ahead of time. I seasoned it after I rinsed it off because I didn't want to waste seasoning just washing it all down the drain. So I added a little bit of water back to the beef and then I seasoned it, and then now I'm putting in the tomato sauce. I actually eventually added in 3 total of the 29-ounce cans to be enough to cover all of the noodles. The next thing that was on sale was this ricotta cheese, and so I just figured I would throw some in and kind of get a lasagna-ish meal. So I'm mixing that in. I also seasoned this sauce with oregano, basil, parsley, garlic, onion, and salt and pepper, I believe is all that I used. And now I'm adding in these egg noodles that I found. I don't normally use this kind, but they were on sale, so I figured that I would give them a try, and they honestly turned out pretty okay. Now I have all of my sauce and my noodles are done. This is 1.5 pounds of noodles, so we have quite a hefty meal here and quite a bit that we're going to freeze dry. So this recipe is just something I threw together. There's not, I don't know exactly how many freeze dried trays that this will fill, and especially depending on the size of freeze dryer that you had. It ended up filling 7 of my small freeze dryer trays, so I basically did 2 runs off of it. And so now you see me adding in 1 more can of that 29-ounce, so this is 3 total. I just needed a little bit more to cover up the noodles and the beef. And so I'm just seasoning it with the seasonings I mentioned earlier. I'm gonna get this in and stir it up, and then we'll get it in the freezer. Forgot to mention earlier that I add in a little bit of baking soda, and it kind of helps take the acidity out of the tomato sauce, so it has a better taste. You can kind of see my sauce bubbling a little bit. I also wanted to add that I add all of the salt and pepper in that I think I will need. So normally, you make your meal and then you put salt and pepper on it before you eat. With my freeze-dried meals, I always try to add enough of that so that it won't need it, because you don't know if you're always going to have it on hand. Now I'm adding in another 15 ounces of tomato sauce because I felt like it needed it. Now it's time to get the pasta onto the freeze-dried trays. I add these silicone mats because I feel like it just helps with a little bit easier of a cleanup. It's not really a mess or a big deal anyways, but it's just something that I always do. I am going to actually weigh each tray to get the amount of weight on it. I just like to make sure that I get a pretty even layer on each tray so that if it freeze dries evenly and I know that they're all dry. I didn't record it, but these are pre-frozen trays. I always pre-freeze my trays. I feel like it just helps with the freeze drying time. It cuts it down with how much the machine needs to be on. Now the freeze dryer is done. I actually use this moisture meter to stick it in just to make sure that there's no moisture. As you can see, there is none. Now for the fun part, we get to see what it looks like as it's freeze dried. I think it's always so fun to pull something out and be able to see like all the seasonings, the sauce, everything just completely dry. It's so fun for me. Now all I do is divide it. You can use, they actually have dividers that you can do, but you can use a knife or a bench scraper or whatever you have, or just crumble into pieces, whatever works for you. And then try to get the same amount into each bag. After I add in all the food and the oxygen absorbers, I am going to vacuum seal this. I love this vacuum sealer because it helps get all of the air out and then it also seals it. Hence the name vacuum sealer. But anyways, I really do love how it gets everything out, and I just feel more confident putting this away for long-term storage or just keeping it stored well and properly. It's very important when you are freeze drying, and I think this does a really good job. Now for the labeling, I just made up a name, beef ricotta pasta. Then you're gonna add the date. I always do batch numbers so that I always know. From this recipe, I got 2 batches and I know the difference between the 2 batches. And then that way, say something were to go wrong with one of these, say that, you know, they went soft or maybe they got moldy or something, you kind of have an idea what batch that was. And then I always add the weight as well. We actually didn't use all of these for long-term storage. We ended up needing a quick meal, and this is what I love about freeze drying, because we had the super quick meal a day after the zoo and we were just all tired, and just we got to see how awesome it was, like how well it rehydrated, and we really could not tell a difference at all. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and hang around, and also let me know what's in your freeze dryer and things that you would like to see in the future.